In what should not come as a surprise to anybody, the communist government of Nepal has been slapped in the face with reports which now prove that close to 33 hectares of Nepal's sovereign land has been taken over by a belligerent China, whose expansionist tendencies would put even Adolf Hitler to shame. The same report has also predicted that China might, in the near future, set up border outposts over the Nepalese land which has fallen into its hands due to the negligence of a servile regime. According to Times Now, in a list of 11 places prepared by Nepal's Survey Department of Agriculture Ministry, China has encroached on 10 places which comprise nearly 33 hectares of Nepalese land. The report further said that China has been diverting the flow of rivers to increase its territory by making Nepalese land look in fact like that of Tibet, and as a consequence, worthy of Chinese invasion. The Rui village of Nepal is already fully occupied by China. Due to excessive road construction activities by China in what it calls its Tibet Autonomous Region (TAR), many rivers are being diverted towards Nepal. This will ultimately lead to a receding of Nepalese land towards Tibet, which then would be a cakewalk for China to assume control over. If the receding of land by rivers continues, then hundreds of hectares naturally go towards TAR. There is a high possibility that over a period of time, China may develop border observation post (BOP) of its armed police in those territories, the document stated. Due to excessive road construction activities by China in what it calls its Tibet Autonomous Region (TAR), many rivers are being diverted towards Nepal. This will ultimately lead to a receding of Nepalese land towards Tibet, which then would be a cakewalk for China to assume control over. If the receding of land by rivers continues, then hundreds of hectares naturally go towards TAR. There is a high possibility that over a period of time, China may develop border observation post (BOP) of its armed police in those territories, the document stated. What is essentially being seen is a gradual Tibetisation of Nepal's territories, which will ultimately lead to the paper dragon swallowing the entire Hindu majority nation, unfortunately being governed by a communist regime. To the same effect, only earlier this month, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath had warned the government of Nepal to not repeat the mistake of Tibet. Nepal should think of the consequences and remember what happened to Tibet, Yogi Adityanath had said. Meanwhile, speaking to WION, the Tibetan president in exile warned that if Nepal continued on its present path of cuddling China, it would end up getting annexed like Tibet, by the usage of brute force. The way Tibet was occupied, first they said they will build a road from China to Tibet. This will bring prosperity to Tibetans. Once they build the road, they brought in trucks, tanks, guns, and soon they occupied us, President Lobsang Sangay said. He has also talked about China's ultimate expansionist plan. After the occupation of Tibet, in the 60s, Chinese leaders have said Tibet is the palm, now they have to go for five fingers: Ladakh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So in 2017, you have Doklam incident that borders Sikkim and Bhutan, and then now you have in Ladakh. This is all part of the grand, long-term expansionist strategy which they had and implementing now, said Lobsang Sangay. Tibet too was invaded by China on the pretext of development and prosperity for the people. The road construction undertaken by the Chinese, however, soon paved way for the Chinese military to forcefully annex Tibet, now under illegal occupation. China has already removed signboards in the Nepali language in the village of Rui in Nepal, to legalize its occupation of the same, although, it is still shown in Nepal's map. It is amply clear that China is no friend of Nepal, and is merely using the KP Oli government to ease its occupation of the Himalayan country. What the Chinese did to Tibet, is soon about to be replicated in Nepal. KP Sharma Oli's proxy government is meanwhile, paving the way for Chinese occupation, with roses.